Mhm.
You're live.
Live?
Mhm.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:18 PM. I'd like to ask Tammy to take notes, or sorry, minutes. And perform the roll call as well.
Okay. Chairperson, and I'm gonna mess up the first part of your last name. Governor Doughty,
Here.
thank you. Chair is here. Vice Chair Lorraine Humes. Vice Chair Lorraine is absent. Secretary Ariel She. Z. Okay. Secretary is absent. Don Gosney. Here. Don Gosney is present. Lynn Johnson. Lynn Johnson is absent. Jai Ma.
Here.
Jai Ma is present. And Andrea Landon.
Yeah.
Andrea Landon is present. Andrea, thank
You
you.
did it right.
And Mr. Chair, you have 4 out of 7.
Awesome. So we have quorum. I do know that Lorraine, first of all, sends her hellos to everybody and maybe calling in. And Lynn as well should be coming in online maybe a little later. Item C, approval of the agenda.
We're hybrid, but we don't have anyone online.
We have an attendee online.
We do? Someone
We
came in?
do. Yes.
So everything's got to be by roll call.
Okay.
So we can't use it.
But it's not a member. It's a public.
It's not a member, so until we get a member online,
Okay.
we can still go with, if there are no objections.
And then we need to check. We need to cross-reference addresses, everything like that. Just, so I'm not sure everybody shared their place of meeting. Just.
So we'll have that
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah. So, item C, approval of agenda, unless there is any objection.
Only a correction on. Yeah, it says that we have 6 members, we have 7.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any objection to approval of the agenda? Okay, and, agenda approved. Item D, comments by the chairperson. I think, just keep it short tonight, but I wanted to welcome Andrea Landon, right? Lundin, as our 7th member, so honorary VIP, just because we've now made our mandatory minimum number of committee members. Andrea, welcome. We're really happy to have you. And just wanted to give you a moment to maybe introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah, I'm really happy to be here. My name is Andrea Lundin. I am currently the program director at East Bay Center for the Performing Arts in Richmond, where I oversee the programming both at our main building and also in all of our partnering schools. Right now, we're working in 14 schools, and a lot of them are schools that have come up in discussions here at these meetings or will be coming up. So I think it's really the work that's going on is incredibly important. I'm a musician, I'm a cellist, future WCCUSD parent. I have a 10-month-old, so just kind of getting used to all of that, but really invested in the district. My husband is a teacher at Richmond High. He's been working in the district for I think almost 14 years as well. So again, happy to be here and learn from the people.
Thank you. And I just want to thank everybody for being here, staff and everybody. So thank you for your commitment. Item E, public comment on non-agendized items. Are there any members of the public online?
Yes, we have President Jamila Smith Foltz online, and she did not raise her hand, but did want to let everybody know that she was here.
Awesome.
And I still don't see a hand raised, so I don't believe she has a comment.
Okay, so item F is also public comment on agendized items for anybody in the public that would like to speak on any agendized items, so they don't have to sit through the entire meeting. But
I see
hearing that we have no members of the public,
no
we'll
hands
move
raised.
on. So district reports, item G, bond program progress and status report.
Right. Well, I'm really excited to be here. It's been a couple months since I gave a project update, so that's exciting. I'm Ellen Mejia Hooper. I'm the Director of Facilities, Planning and Construction for the district, and we will go ahead and get started. So the project status report always includes a chart that goes through all of our projects where the construction portion, we share images of the updated construction components. So for Stage, we have scoping and prioritization still being completed as we're going through programming and schematic design. This is for a partial rebuild, partial modernization project at that campus. For Kennedy and Richmond High, those are both modernization projects, which again is a partial replacement, partial modernization. We are getting the initial schematic design documents in. The cost estimate is in the works, so we're looking forward to seeing how that first round came out, and we're reviewing the schematic design documents, which is a good first step because that's our first phase of the formal architectural process. At Kennedy, we also have our critical needs project, which was defined in the facility master plan as a demolition of the 100-200 building. As part of that, we are currently under construction for the boiler room remodel. So we're clearing out the old boiler rooms to make room for the new data center for the campus, which we need to move out of the 100-200 building before we demolish it. Then we also have the admin relocation project. That is the portion of it where we're actually reconnecting everything into the new data center that we have going into the old boiler room. And that's a DSA project that we are going to rebid in the fall. And then in the meantime, we have been doing work on the portables and the temporary housing. So we have a variety of small projects to fix up the temporary housing for the Kennedy staff to move in. So lots of things happening with the critical needs project. We do have the DD design development set in for the actual demolition of the 100-200 building. As for construction, we have our, we'll go through these with pictures and scope pages. So I'll go through them quickly and expand when we get down to the pictures, but Lake is still under construction. Since I saw you last, we have officially moved in the stuff. The furniture is getting delivered as we speak. So today was the first day the new furniture came in. So it's an exciting time over at Lake. We are planning on doing the major demolition starting next week. Or later this week, depending on how things work out with our power shutdown. We have the Hercules Critical Needs Project, which is the new science building. Collins and Cameron, we're finishing up the HVAC projects. At Collins, we are removing, now that it's summertime, We're coming back for the demolition of the boilers that we were able to turn off when we turned on the equipment back in April over spring break. So now the last component of this project is removing the boilers from the old boiler rooms and fine tuning the controls for the HVAC systems that we've put in. Cameron, we're still waiting on PG&E to complete. Pinole Valley Fields and Bleachers, we are still in communications with California Geotechnical Review and Process. And Shannon, critical needs, we are now under construction for Shannon, so I have a few slides for that. Not a lot of exciting things to see yet, but it's getting going. So if we move down, yes.
I'm sorry, on these reports, we keep referring to a lot of these things by the number of the building, like Kennedy, 100 building, 200 building. Well, unless we're working there all the time, we may not have any idea what building is 100 or 200. It might be helpful if you, when you're describing any of these things, put a map, a line drawing of what the school is. I attended Kennedy High School 55 years ago, but we never referred to them by the 100 building or the 200 building. We referred to them by what was being taught there. So this is of no value or use to us. So putting a drawing on there that we can refer to, and the public too, that may not be as familiar as we all are, it would be helpful.
Okay. Just for everybody's knowledge, tonight, the 100 and 200 building is the main building that you see from Cutting Boulevard that has the main office and most of the classroom spaces. We'll work on that for next month.
So the same thing would go for Richmond High, and even when you start talking Stige. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Page down. So Lake, we have a couple pictures. Hopefully you guys saw the various in-between months. The last newsletter, we also included a couple videos, which was different for us. We tried that out, but it gives you a little bit more of an idea of what the space looks like. I know a couple of you were able to tour. We now have the landscaping in as well as the site furniture, so that's what you're seeing here. Just as a reminder of moving out, sometimes I think we forget what the old buildings look like. We get so focused on the new buildings that we are making major changes at Lake. And there was a lot of need there and the old buildings. So last look at the old buildings before we tear them down. And so Hercules Middle High School, these are the new science buildings. This has also been moving along. So the interior spaces, we're putting up the frames for the acoustical cloud ceiling. So you can see that we have a variety of cloud, what we call clouds, but they're really look more like squares and rectangles in the ceiling that helps with our overall acoustics, but doesn't necessarily cover all of the utilities and structure that's in the building. That was conscious part of the design, especially because these are science lab spaces, the ability to see the different utilities that are within our buildings and the structure of how they're held up was a design feature of this building. So we are adding the acoustical clouds because they do add quite a bit of acoustical treatment to the rooms. But it doesn't necessarily cover them all, but within those frames, we will be dropping ceiling tiles into them. At the high school side, so we have two sides of the building, 4 labs for middle school, 4 labs for high school. The high school has been the second group of the different trades have worked from the middle school side over to the high school side throughout this project. So we are at a different place in the high school where we're putting up duct work. You can see here that the building, the ceiling isn't painted the same way that the other ones was in the previous image. The other piece that's really happening on site is getting all of the prep work done for the stucco exterior plaster. So you'll see the various layers of waterproofing as well as the lath and control joints on this picture. And so that's the big effort. The last of the control joints are going in, and soon we will start stucco, which is great because once the stucco's gone or done, then the scaffolding gets removed and we can finish up the site work around the building. This is just another image of the underlayment of the stucco of the awning. So you can see the different components of what's going on there with the vent and the different type of lath that you put on the awning overhang. And I thought it's been a while since we had a backed up view of the building. So this area back here, I can zoom in a little bit more. This is our building back here. This is the edge of the library. Here's the rotunda of the office space. And this is one of the portables that is already demolished. We're taking down the portables right now. There's 4 classrooms and 1 restroom that is being removed on the high school side this summer. So we'll be able to see more of the building as those buildings come down. Like you had a question. No. Shannon, multipurpose room. This is a new project that we have just started under construction, haven't introduced it to the group since we started construction. It is a new multipurpose room, which has a dining area, kitchen, stage, as well as some support spaces and restrooms. And it provides both indoor, outdoor. We have roll-up doors as we've done on our other new builds, as well as additional lighting. And the current multipurpose room at Shannon is a portable. So this will be a huge change for this campus. It's being located underneath the 2 classroom buildings. So if you're familiar with Shannon, there's a driveway that comes in with the drop-off zone. And so the NPR is south of the 2 classroom buildings. The existing NPR is right here where these trees are located. So we're looking forward to this happening. They have mobilized on site. So we have the trailers as well as the construction fencing up. And they've demoed part of the asphalt that was needed to be demoed to be able to start digging the footings. So that is complete as well. So that's the end of the general project status PowerPoint. Questions there?
Got ourselves a brand new project there. Be nice to have start site visits there so we can see what it looked like before everything was demolished. And then periodic site visit says it's being built.
Any other questions or comments? This section.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Would you be able to go over the PG&E connection at Cameron? Has that been out for a while?
That has been out for a while. We are in contact with PG&E to get it scheduled, but it is difficult to get them to commit to a date.
They've released it within their documents, but we don't have a hard date yet, so we've been waiting about 6 months, roughly. Yeah, so what we did temporarily to bring the HVAC work up over there is we brought power in from Korematsu. Provided the additional power the site needed.
Just a bunch of cords that just like.
Yeah, so
They're overhead.
it's an overhead fee that comes across, so we were able to complete the project and get it up and running and commission. But as soon as PG&E sets the new transformer and the new feed, then we'll let that tie between the 2 schools, take that temporary connection out.
I'm sorry, you lost me there. What school's so close to Korematsu that you can run extension cords?
Cameron.
Cameron.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It makes sense now.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear it.
I did have a question, forgive me if this was mentioned, but are there projected timelines for these projects that are under construction, or where all these?
Yes. So, let me go back up. It's the charts, so then I can.
Do you want to show your
Yeah, the
status report?
it's in
The
the
status report, yeah, I can do that too. We just don't have a status report for our projects that haven't had any activity.
Okay.
But the status report is what comes after the PowerPoint, and it gives you more detailed information about the individual projects. So there is a scope of work section, as well as our DSA number, which is the Division of State Architects. They're the ones that are our permit agency. They give us a number. We have our project number. We have a summary of our financials. And so this really talks about, well, Lake is special because it's a design build, so it has all sorts of fun contingencies on it. But Shannon is a little bit more straightforward because it's a design bid build, which is the more traditional delivery method for construction. So it has the original contract amount. If we execute change orders and change the contract amount, it tells you what type of change order it was, whether it was an unforeseen condition, owner requested design change, or triggered by an outside agency. And then that gives you the revised contract amount, as well as PCOs are
Proposed change order.
proposed change. I was like, possible? That's not the word I was looking for. Proposed change orders. Thank you. And so those are things that have been submitted to us but not passed by the board, and that really shows our risk. And then sometimes we reject the proposed change orders for a variety of reasons. So we also track those on here. The overall, how much we've billed already out, and then if we have any stop notices. The activity also breaks down what happened last month and what we're expecting to happen next month. And the final completion date is in this side over here on the project schedule. So if we scroll down a little bit, it shows you when the notice of proceed was issued, the duration, completion date, and if we have any improved time extensions. And it looks like this one's Lake. Let's get back to Lake. Yes. I was like, wait, Shannon doesn't have any approved time extensions. This is Lake. And so what we've revised and what our new date is.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question, Jessica?
Sure.
So you're at 11/17/2025 at Lake. So is that your move-in date as well? So would you move them in like after Christmas break or?
So it includes completion of punch list and different items. So there is potentially the ability of moving them in sooner than that. For Lake in particular, we have 3 buildings that are part of the second phase, 2 of which are the kindergarten buildings, and 1 is the NPR or multi-purpose room. And so at this point in time, we are trying to work out the kindergarten to be ready for the school year. I can't promise right now that we can do
For
that.
August?
Yeah,
No,
no, next year.
Next August.
So currently that we've moved Lake into the permanent building, so the classrooms are actually moved in. But because of the demolition of the existing school, there are some spaces where we had to squeeze some of the classrooms in. So like the kindergarten room, we retrofitted the library space to accommodate the kindergarten. So the move that would happen in the fall of 25 would actually be moving the kindergarten out of the main building now into their permanent space. Or as Ellen was saying, hopefully in the fall of 25, August, we would move them into their space when of next school year.
But the multi-purpose room will not be ready by the beginning of school. But we have temporary facilities that we're currently using. We would continue to use those until the new building is ready.
Okay, so back again, so this revised completion date of 11/17/2025, that is, explain that to me again one more time, what that is? That's not done and moving.
That is completion of the project, but it also includes site work. So there might be, the building might open before that date.
Okay.
And as we get closer, we'll know more. Right now, we still haven't demolished the buildings of where these buildings are gonna go. So it's difficult right now to say exactly the plan, but we do have contingency to, we would continue doing what we're doing this year as far as temporary housing for all of those functions if the buildings are not ready by August.
Ellen, the
Yes.
status report on Shannon says upcoming work clear and grub. Is that shorthand for something, or what is that? Or is that a?
So that's the removal of basically any organics.
Okay.
So, grass, weeds, brush,
Okay.
that's what clear and grub is.
Onward.
Onward, okay, so we have status reports for Lake Shannon, Hercules. And then we also have our communications, which is our construction newsletter. And those are here for Lake. Where we are also showing the new drop off, getting our families ready. So that, because we are opening these 3 buildings this summer. So this is what we're moving into, which is the admin and library, and for this year, kindergarten. And then we have our first through third on this side and 4th through 6th on this side, classroom buildings. We have a temporary servery in the administration library building, as well as 2 classrooms that we are temporarily using for the dining space in the 4th through 6th classroom building. So, but we are opening the 12th Street drop off, which we previously have not had open. So that's exciting. Next year, we will have both the 12th Street and 11th Street open, but we will no longer have staff parking entering from Giant, which is a change. We are trying to encourage folks to think about using their walking entrances that we have both off of 12th Street as well as off of Manchester. So just more pictures and the same for Shannon. We did release a first newsletter last month that gave a overview of the project. And then this month is the first month of the standard construction newsletter, and then our standard construction newsletter for Hercules. And that completes my report for that.
Any questions?
On the last staff report that we have tonight, I tell this joke every year to my team, and so I'll share it with you as well. And that is that I always say Happy New Year. So in the school district business, it is a very busy time. So our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30. And so we are extremely busy right now, closing the books. And so what I present to you tonight is our AP checklist for June. This is a preliminary report. And so when we're in our closing season, there's a lot of invoices that are going to be paid in the month of July that we're going to backdate to June 30 because you can't bill for June until June's over. And so today was the official deadline. All those invoices are coming in, but this is the preliminary AP checklist dated June of 2024. One of the reasons why this is a really important report that we bring forward is a major role of the CBOC is oversight of the expenditures of the bond program. And so this essentially identifies for you all of the expenditures that are funded by bond dollars. And so you can see it's broken out. That first category is undistributed. And so that's where we have retainage. Retainage is something specific out of statute that we do for construction services. And it's basically we pay 95% and we hold 5% in retainage, right? So we hold those dollars either in a district account or through a third-party escrow bank until the project's complete. And so that's why those are undistributed. And then you can see for the projects. And so as Ms. Mejia Hooper has shared with us pictures and showed us some of the exciting work happening at Lake. If we scroll down to Lake, you can see the different types of expenditures for Lake. And so you can see Alton Construction, they're our design builder. And then Decotech Systems, you can see they're providing the technology infrastructure for the new campus. DSA School Inspectors, that's our division of the state architect inspector. And so they review fire, life safety, structural, and then access. And then Interface Engineering, which is a commissioning firm. And so they test the mechanical systems and other types of systems to make sure that they're performing as they were designed for the spaces as we begin to occupy. And so I bring you the checklist tonight. And for those of you that were able to join us at the last meeting, we still have the full suite of the online reports that are available on the website at any time that you can check out. I will be bringing back the full suite of reports through June 30. You just got to give us a little bit of time to close the books. And so that'll probably be in September when we will have completed the close. And so that concludes my presentation of this item for tonight.
Any questions or comments? All right, moving on to, thank you, staff. Moving on to item 8, consent calendar. Unless if there are no objections, we'll see. I want to first just confirm that we were able to attach.
No,
Which minutes do we have?
None.
None, okay, so. We'll skip that.
okay,
So we will work to postpone this to the next meeting. We'll work to make sure we get all of the minutes, including today's, in the August agenda.
Mr. Chair, can I share a quick point of, I don't know
Yes.
what I should call this, but one of our committee members was asking earlier before the meeting started if she would be able to leave at 7 today, and it's close to 7. I think we wanted to make sure we had a quorum, but if they still needed to leave, we would still have a quorum. So I just wanted to raise that to you as the chair on behalf of a committee member, because that happened just before you came.
Okay, cool, thank you. Yeah, I think it's totally fine. We're at 5 out of 7 members, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so H is postponed till next meeting. I move all 2024 regular CBOC meetings to hybrid, both online and in person through the end of the calendar year. You know, I took a poll of our committee members and got a little feedback on what would make it easier to attend. And there were a variety of answers and perspectives, some pertaining to just work needs, long transportation times, childcare. And so I think it would be best to offer the online participation moving forward. In doing that, we would all, those that wanted to participate as a voting member of the committee need to share their meeting address and location. And yes, and they would be considered for quorum as well. Done.
did you also make sure they all understood that once you let the public know where they will be in 72 hours in advance? I mean, it's a matter of, oh, I'm running late at work. You know that 72 hours in advance, but did you also let them know that they would have to invite the public into their workplace of business or their homes?
I have communicated that to some people. I think that is, I don't think you need to extend the invitation. I think you need to post, the requirement is posting it on the agenda and making that space available for somebody that comes to your door.
They knocked on the door.
Is that right?
That is absolutely correct, and the requirement is also, pardon me, that, and Donna's correct on this. The agenda must list the location 72 hours in advance. So if you're running late for work and you decide just to call in, that's not gonna cut it. It has to be on the agenda, it has to get posted 72 hours in advance. We do not on the agenda need to identify who is at the address. We just need to list the address. If you want that as an option, the agenda must be posted somewhere at your location, outside, 24 hours where the public can see it. When I've done this before at my own home, I put it on the side of my house. Easy. Yes, what that means is your home is now a teleconference location. The public may show up. And if they show up, we have to allow them to participate in the meeting at that location. That also means that the location has to be ADA compliant. That is difficult for some folks because they have stairs going up into their house. My recommendation on that is if you actually have someone come to your home and they want to be there for the meeting, hold it in your driveway because your driveway doesn't have any steps going into it. Yeah.
I mean, that's the Brown Act. We have to comply.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that we get quorum and we hold our meeting. So, you know, for those of us comfortable with putting our meeting location address on there, I would recommend we do it. We do it every meeting so that we have the option to take the meeting from alternate location. But I can understand how people might not be comfortable with that.
So they can still do.
So there's always gonna be an in-person option.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question on that? It's
Yes.
not an option though, if you, right, can you confirm this? If you print the address, someone needs to be there, you can't just be like, I've changed my mind, right?
Well, no, the
Uh,
Brown Act lets you, so let's say we put Don's address. And because you thought you would need to be home, because you're waiting on a call, right? For your printer. Well, you get that resolved and you want to come in person. The same place where you posted your agenda. Post that this location has changed to, and you give this address. So as long as you post an alternate address, you're fine. Brown Act allows us to move locations.
Just to clarify, so it is posting the agenda at the location. Is that right?
Absolutely, have to do that, 72 hours in advance.
Don?
I have multiple thoughts on there, but on that particular issue, if I showed up to your house because you posted this is where the meeting is, and all of a sudden find out the meeting's not gonna be held there, and it's gonna take me 20, 30, 40 minutes to get across town to where the meeting is gonna be, I'm gonna be upset. I mean, really upset with something like that, being misled by my representative on there. Also, if you come by my house, I'll put you to work. So people don't want to come there, but my own personal thoughts, and this is not just for this particular issue, but on many of the committees I've been on, people say, yes, I want to be a representative of the people. But I don't want the people to know who I am. I don't want to provide any contact information where they can actually reach out to me. No phone numbers, no email addresses, no personal addresses. These representatives don't actually have to show up and actually face the public. I don't think that's transparency. I don't think that's what the public expects out of their representatives. I know I certainly would not be happy with that kind of thing. I don't like the idea of never being able to actually see. It's bad enough when we've got representatives that you can't reach out to and speak to anyway because they don't respond to any inquiries. We've got too many elected officials, city council members or school board members or state assembly people or whatever. They say, I want to represent you, but please don't ask to actually reach out to me. Because I'm not gonna respond. Well, I feel like they're not listening, but my voice doesn't really matter to them. So I mean, I'm against this kind of thing. I think that we need to maintain these meetings. We need to find out why can't our members show up? We're just talking about CVOC. Why can't they show up? What can we do to make it easier for them to show up in person at these meetings? So that if we actually had a full house of public here, they could hear what you had to say, but they could also talk to you. Yeah, talk to you before the meeting, talk to you after the meeting. Or something like that. That's my own personal thoughts.
Thank you, Don.
You don't actually need a motion for them. This is allowable under the Fred Act, which is state law.
Okay, yeah, so I think just for awareness,
You would do it, yeah.
and so, but we can,
You can vote
if
on
there's
it.
no objections, this will, be adopted,
I object.
okay,
I voiced my reasons why I object, but I object.
okay.
Would you like to make the motion?
I'd like to make it a
You make
motion,
it. You're allowed, remember, we're small board rules, so.
right?
You can make the motion and all.
So yeah, let's, I'll make the motion to move all 2024 regular CBOC meetings to hybrid, online, in person to the end of the calendar year.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Can this be, if it's made, can it be changed at any point? Like, what's the kind of policy on revisiting?
yeah, it can be changed,
Okay.
and what we've just learned is also, this is always an option.
Okay,
So whether this passes or not,
Okay.
if a member shares their meeting location, they're eligible to participate as a voting member. And quorum participant.
I'm sorry, but by doing this, it seems to me like you're encouraging people members to stay at home. As opposed to actually showing up in person.
Well, my goal is to have quorum every time. We've missed two, and I feel that this is most important now in the next few months where we only have our 7 members. And maybe it's less of an issue, as we grow. I want to encourage participation. And if we're not getting it all, like having, encouraging any form of participation to contribute to quorum is the goal here. So we don't need a second. Let's have a roll call.
Okay. Chairperson Havener Duncan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lane is not here. Secretary Ariel,
I, vote for it.
okay, thank,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Well, I-
that was a yes.
Yes,
But she can answer for herself.
yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Can I add some comment?
Not right
Oh,
now.
sorry.
And, Don Gosney?
No,
Don Gosney voted no, it is not here. Jai Ma,
No opinion.
is that a yes, no, or an abstain?
The third one.
The third one, abstain, okay. Jai Ma abstains. And Andrea Landon, am I pronouncing that?
One,
Okay,
but
Right.
that's fine. Yes.
yes. Chair, you had you had 3 yeses, 1 no. And 1 abstention, which doesn't count.
Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you all. CBOC business discussion items,
Yeah, no comment. No, or no.
it's fine to allow comments in.
That's up to the chair.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know, but yes, go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to explain a little bit why I vote yes for this. For me, the most difficult thing for me to come to this meeting is sometimes I need childcare. So, apparently it's not very kids friendly here. So if like, we can go to some other places to join the meeting, I will probably go to the public library and my kids can play and read there. I can still join the meeting.
So, I think it's really, good option for me to participate in the meeting more. That's why I vote for yes.
Has there ever been any precedent for childcare at CBOC meetings? I know it's pretty late. in the
Kids are
evening.
always welcome.
Remember the-
No discrimination policy.
Well,
I would probably smile
we can
more.
definitely let them
Um,
loose, but there may be.
Yeah, so they're welcome to come. So I don't think there's a policy, but
Okay.
But in terms of anybody like hired to provide.
We have not done that in the
Okay,
past,
yeah.
no.
With some of our other meetings, I'm sorry, interrupting, but I mean, like 7-Eleven, we've had the children of members show up and they sat off the side with their headphones and their tablets.
Okay.
They were a little bit older. I don't know how old your child is,
5 and 4, no, 6 and.
so they can drive, but they can play with power tools.
Hard to control.
Obviously childless, for good reason.
Okay, thank you all. So item J, discussion of accountability software tool pertaining to the June 10th, last month's presentation. As you all know, last month, we just had an informational meeting because we didn't make quorum. So I wanted to revisit the presentation and provide opportunities to ask any questions and discuss the accountability software. So hopefully everybody was able to review that meeting video if you weren't present. And we'll just open it up for discussion. Anybody? Yes?
I was here, and I can't remember exactly what this was about. I remember that we weren't allowed to ask questions about anything last month. I know we weren't allowed to make comments about anything last month, even though I think both of us had comments and questions to ask, but we had to sit here in silence. I was very frustrated, very angry about that, but I said, I can't remember what was on this, and I didn't bother to go back and look at the video before this tonight's meeting.
can I introduce it a little bit since I
Oh, sure.
presented it? So accountability is a software that we use to do the financial reporting for the bond program. And so one of the challenges that we've had historically over the years is ensuring that we're providing timely and accurate financial reports. And both of those words are very important. So you got to make sure that the report is right, but the information is most valuable if it is recent and up to date and it reflects what just happened and it's not showing up 3 months later. And so historically, we've had some staffing turnover, we've had some difficulty filling the position. And so we look to other resources. And so there is a program that we use, and essentially there's 2 modules. There's an Colby Docs, which is the project management tool, document management for project management, and accountability is the financial side. So we've been working really closely with the vendor. And so to solve kind of that challenge, which is providing timely and accurate financial reports, the financial reports that represent this entire bond program going back to fiscal year 0 are now available online at any time to anyone. And so those were reports that we would print out, we would put in the packet, I would present. So you would kind of get that glimpse. We would work on them once a month. But we wanted them to be more available. And so now they're available online. And so we had the vendor that we've been working with here to present those reports. And we've started with a suite of reports that are probably familiar to this group, one that kind of represents the entire program and one that's a carve out just for the project. The other thing that we've done is now that's available for all of our project managers, that's available for our school communities. And so kind of the next phase of our implementation is at any time, if anybody wants to see how the bond dollars have been spent in this community by project or by overall program, it's available online. We have our bond program management plan, which is basically like here's how the bond program is managed, and it has a series of different sections. So we're now writing an update to the program management plan, which will basically have the narrative and some how-tos of how to access the information and then highlight the features of the different types of financial reports that are now available to anyone at any time. One of the reasons why we're really, really happy about this is because, one, we want to make sure that our commitment and our responsibility to provide timely and accurate financial reports isn't subject to who is in a position, or if there's a change in position that it creates some type of gap. We're really trying to build a system and lean on the tools that this technology has to do more and to do a better job. And I think the second thing that we're really excited about is this isn't something that a lot of districts have. So a lot of districts have their CBOC meeting and they bring their reports to the CBOC meeting. Maybe they bring them to their board meeting, and that's when you have access to the information, is when you request or when you're presented a report. So we're really proud to be on the forefront as a district that's saying everything that we do, we want to be transparent. We want it to be right, so it's available at any time. The other thing that's really exciting about the accountability team is they're also providing some augmentation support. So what that means is essentially every single bond financial transaction is being essentially audited. So we're auditing ourselves as staff members, but we also have experts that are auditing each transaction as well. And so what that means, that's that accuracy component, right? We're all human, we can all make a mistake. And so every time we are establishing a budget, making a commitment for expenditures, coding the account, and then paying an invoice, it's like a triple check. There's a team internally that reviews and approves everything before the transaction is done, and we keep all that documentation for our auditors. But our third-party partners at accountability are also auditing those transactions. And I think that's really giving us a lot of confidence in the accuracy of the reports that we're bringing forward. It's also going to enable us to grow our suite of reports. And so at the CBOC meeting, at the last CBOC meeting in June, it was kind of like our pilot kickoff, right? We've been trying to build this module. We've been trying to build and look at the reports and test them and try to build in different features based on feedback that we've received here. So we really saw June as kind of like a kicking off point. Like, here it is, the module's live, it's available, the reports are here. Because we're in closing right now, if you logged on right now, pulled up any project report, it's going to tell you everything that's been logged as of today. But since we're in this closing period, some things will be backdated so we can properly close the year. So I would love to make kind of the ongoing staff presentations of financial reports be the AP checklist, because I think that's extremely valuable. It focuses on expenditures, which is a key focus of the CBOC, right? How every bond dollar is spent. I'd like to really kind of incorporate the online module to look at those reports and highlight some of those projects in kind of collaboration with the status reports that Ellen and her team does. And then bring back to the CBOC the PMP section, so program management plan section that we're building out that now reflects the reports being available online and not just something that's presented at the meeting. So that is what accountability kind of stands for. And I think from a kind of implementation standpoint, where I think that it is. The last thing that I'll say, and this is something that I think, will also be coming back to the committee and to the board, is accountability. The design of accountability and what we're trying to do with the availability of the financial reports is the implementation of some of the historical audit recommendations. So some of the historic audit recommendations, they really revolved around kind of those two components, right? Timely and accurate. right? What good is the information if it's not timely and accurate? And so by really implementing, launching, and then further kind of demonstrating our implementation and documentation of this work, we're able to demonstrate our implementation of some of the historical audit recommendations. And so I guess that's probably the third reason why I'm really excited about it. So.
Question?
Yes, so my question is, how much does this software cost? Does the money from, go from bond money?
So we pay $75,000 a year. And that is the software cost. That's not just for the financial software, but also for the project management system. And so that the $75,000 covers both modules. And both modules right now are actually being integrated so that the project management components are speaking to the financial components as they should. So instead of it being entry in the two systems, right? Ellen's project team is working in their system. You know, Megan and our team is working together on the financial side, really kind of integrating it. And then for the staff augmentation, so that's that auditing transaction point that I mentioned. What we've negotiated with Colby is that no matter who is assisting us from their program, it's $95 per hour and it's as needed. So as we build our team here and we really build our expertise, and as we launch this in the long term, that's something that we want to build the capacity to do here internally. But as we're launching it and getting the system going, it's something that we're still getting assistance with.
I think it was 75,000 a year, right?
$75,000 a year for the software license. And then in addition to that, there is a budget. And I can pull up that exact number. It went to board on June 26th for staff augmentation. And so when there is a live person who is helping us reconcile the timesheet or audit the transaction, then they bill us hourly at $90 an hour. And that's if it's the top person doing a custom report or if it's somebody who's helping us with a reconciliation.
Sorry, Melissa, you said 95 first and then 90?
Yeah, I think it's 95. I can pull it up.
Okay, 90.
Sorry.
And the cost all from, is all from the, bond money.
Yes, because they're only supporting bond projects, not supporting anything else.
And how much in total do you expect the cost will be for like 2024 to 2025 fiscal year?
For this fiscal year, and I'll pull up the exact number for you here in just one
Including
second.
the-
I think it's 292,000, but I will pull that up for you.
It's 272,600.
A lot of numbers, yeah. So we took that item to the board on June 26th.
Okay. It's 272,600.
Thank you.
And if you're also wondering about the $95 an hour, because I'm, obsessed with this stuff, it's not to exceed 197,600.
And it's 95 plus, right? Because I think that's on.
I'm sorry, not exceeding.
The not to exceed value for hourly services is 197,600.
That's 272 minus 75, right?
Exactly.
Will there be any like cost saving because of using this software or no cost saving at all?
Considerable cost savings. So, for a staff person to prepare the suite of reports for the CBOC, historically, that person spent 40 hours just to prepare the reports on a monthly basis. And so for that full week that they were preparing the reports for this committee, they weren't doing any other work. And the person who was doing that had worked in the district 20 plus years, and they were incredibly proficient at it. So when they tried to train someone else to do the reports in their replacement, no one was able to complete it on their own. And so that's what kind of led to the delay in being able to produce the reports on a monthly basis, was we were trying to find somebody who could produce all of those reports. by building it into the accountability system, the system is running the reports now. So once you define the reports and you tell it how to query that information, that transactional information, at any point, if you go on the website and you pull the report, it just pulls all the data into the report on a project or program basis. And so the staff time of just preparing the reports, I won't say that there isn't time, it's about 8 hours. Because we still, as people, we have a responsibility to verify and make sure that all of this is reasonable and that it matches and that it's correct. But one of the things that having the information at everybody's fingertips allows them to do is like when the project managers are in the field, right? So they have an invoice, they've signed it, they've submitted it, they've turned it in. It needs to come into the office for reviews and approvals, be processed in the system and then post. So it's creating all of these different checks and balances, no matter what your position is in the program. As a community member, if you want to see what the action is that's happening for a particular project, you can see every expenditure at any time by pulling it up on the website. Before, it was more staff time, and you would only see those reports on a monthly basis here at this meeting. And so, when we look at the staffing costs to do a lot of the work that's now being essentially automated, it is an incredible cost savings for us as a program. And I think the other thing that it's doing is it's ensuring that for the CDOC, for our community, for our board, for all of our taxpayers, this information is available at any time. So let's say, for example, that there was a change in who the person was, right? There should be no interruption to the availability of accurate financial data, accurate financial reports. It's all available at any time. And the challenge that we had before is the system that we created was person dependent. And so when we lost the person, we lost that accuracy and timeliness. We were still able to do it and make sure that it was accurate. It just took so much more time. And so we really believe that at the conclusion of this year, one of our goals is that additional staff augmentation, the $95 per hour for assistance, will come down considerably. We'll still have the licensing fee, but we'll be able to do a lot of that work here in-house with our team as we continue to get them trained on the program and up to speed on how to do some of that work here locally.
Thank you. Can I?
Yeah, please. These are great questions.
So are there any other similar softwares in the industry? Maybe you look at other softwares. Why did you choose this one?
It's a great question. So this actually goes back a number of years. And so here in the bond program, I would say from the document controls perspective, this is probably the least expensive document control system that we've had. And so this is the third one that I'm aware of in this bond program. And by far, this is significantly less than the previous programs that were used in the past. Some of the challenges associated with the previous document control systems that were used is they were so customized that they were dependent on full-time people running those programs. And it was almost like if that person wasn't there to do it, then you couldn't get into the system. And so one of the things that really attracted us to this system when we looked at systems throughout the industry is the system's a lot more open. So Tyler Technologies, or excuse me, accountability is used by many bond programs throughout the state. The program was actually developed by a former CDO. And so this program was really built with school districts at its heart, understanding kind of how the annualized school financial system works as opposed to project management. So it's significantly cheaper than the other document control systems that are out there. So that's really what led us to the system first. It was with the departure of kind of the team member. We used to just use the financial side of this program for reports. And so the data would go in and we would pull the reports. What we've done since kind of the staffing change is we've gone back in so that we can use all of the systems and kind of internal audit controls that exist in the system as staff. So, we're using it a lot more than we used to in the past. We have integrated all of the historical, at this point, 24 years of historical financial data is in the system. So when we run the reports, it's in there. One of the things that we're actually working on right now, right, we're trying to grow the system and do more and more and more, is we're working towards getting to a place where we're going to be able to produce the financial reports for our community that shows how every measure poured into every different project that we've done throughout our program. And so one of the reasons why we chose this program was, it's a lot cheaper than most of the programs that are out there. You can definitely customize it for your district and for your program, right? We said we really wanted to have an online reporting module and they've supported us with that. But it's also something that they can always help you with. So it's an open system. Does that make sense? It's not a closed system where I can only use the system if this person is working here and we've run into some of those challenges in the past. So, I believe we started using maybe about 5 years now that we've been using it, but I can bring back that exact answer. But those were a lot of the reasons why we chose this software in particular.
Thank you.
You said that this is up on the website,
Mhm.
and what's it called? It's on your website, the facilities website?
We should link it to the website. Maybe we haven't done that
Yeah.
yet. That's a good point.
Oh, I don't know.
I will link it. Yes.
It's not working, so.
Yes, so we'll link it. But there's a web page. So there's basically a district web page. And it currently has 3 different report types on it. And we're building out other custom reports. Part of the $75,000 a year, we get 5 custom reports a year. So we're using part of those software allowances to build more custom reports. So it's an initial launch, but we'll keep building and we'll make sure that that link is on our website.
I got a question. So if it's only reporting on the bond funds for sites that are using non-bond funds to
Mhm.
supplement some of the projects, are those funds on the website at all, or do they show up anywhere, especially if it's all kind of related to some of the projects?
Really good question. So, Munis is the financial system that we use for all of our district financials, right? And so that's where that's our district's financial enterprise system. We have some footnotes on our bond financial reports that identify when a supplemental funding source is supporting the overall project budget. And so, but it's basically just a footnote. So what you see in the reports, everything that is, every bond dollar comes out of Fund 21. So one of the things that you'll notice, maybe if you look at the AP checklist, is we have what's on here called the short account. And so that string of numbers gives us a lot of data about the number. And so when it starts with 21, that means bond funded. And I would be happy to do a little mini training at a future meeting about how we use those other numbers to essentially tell a story about what the expenditure is and how we use it, which is also in our program management plan. But that first number, 21, that tells you that they're bond dollars. The next four digits are what we call a resource, and that's actually what tells you which bond measure is funding the project. And some of the expenses that you'll see on here, the 4-digit resource code, the second 4 digits is 9790. And so those are what we call non-measure resources. So when we apply to the state for state facility funds and we used bond dollars to leverage additional state dollars, and then we receive those grant dollars, we put it in Fund 21, but it's not from a measure. So
Okay.
it's state funds that we've received or interest that we've earned on the money in the account. Does that help?
It does. I have one more question too.
Yes,
I'm just, I mean, I did watch the meeting last month and my first thought was like, what an incredible resource for the district in general. Does, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but can this tool be used for other reporting? So, like I was thinking about Prop 28, which there's a lot going on right there, or other kind of funds, and that there's a lot of issues with accountability and transparency with how those funds are being spent. And it's just an amazing resource for this one specific thing, but curious.
So I would say specific to our district, currently accountability is just being used for the bond fund. We have talked about, as we kind of, right, as you implement a tool and then you start to see its value, sometimes you want to expand that tool. So from a facilities lens, we have talked about potentially expanding it to other restricted facilities resources that we have. There haven't been any conversations broader than that, but there are other school districts that do use it much more broadly.
I don't wanna take too much of your time, we can talk offline.
Yeah.
The district does have a transparency tool where you can, it's not the easiest thing in the world to use, but there's lots of information on it in terms of income and expenses. And they have a checkbook and you can pull up pretty much anything. Takes a little skill. And then as far as Prop 28, the board just approved a end of year report as required by the state.
Yeah.
It is so inadequate.
I was like,
mean,
I was expecting more. I was
Yeah.
like, it's only 1 page or 2 pages from them.
Yeah, so I asked that those funds be put on the SPSA funds, the school site council.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then Title I, and I asked that get broken out, so.
Okay.
And I had to look it up, so I'll just, for everybody's benefit, Proposition 28 is art and music for K-12 education funding
Yeah, sorry.
initiative.
But why would that be of interest to you?
Yeah.
We have an expert.
Thank you.
I was gonna mention that it would be, I mean, obviously, training, ongoing training is super important. Also, just based on the kind of the turnover of our committee, getting to a point where we, record those and post them is our ideal state. I was thinking about, a training, a kind of workshop, specific to accountability. And maybe if folks want to bring in their laptops to have them, we can go through and kind of do a hands-on report pulling session and kind of dig in based on our specific interests areas.
And I think that's where Melissa kind of wanted to go with the way we present reports every month, so that you actually have your access to go into the reports. And really maybe come with your questions more than just having a download too.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that discussion. Item K, site visit committee report out. Wanted to co-present with Ariel. And Don certainly chime in, as we've been to a couple site visits together. I spoke on this a little bit last meeting. One of the goals I have is, to post pictures, publish notes, share questions, and potentially propose to add certain items to the punch lists of certain projects to the extent that's okay, or
I don't know that you would add it to the punch list, but we would certainly take the information and be able to take that information and share it
Okay, yeah.
whatever form needs to be shared.
That's the point, yeah, I guess, that's the point. So I reflect, from my perspective, it's just a fantastic opportunity to get on site, look and feel and touch and ask questions about the project, whether it's from, in my particular area of interest is material choices, why, certain materials were used. But also, how, construction projects unfold, and it brings, it offers an opportunity to really dig in to understand the processes. At one point, I think at Hercules, we asked about an aspect of the building, and it led to a reflection or a sharing that, well, it was kind of a disconnect between the architect's design and the contractor's building, that led to an element that needed to then be what's the right word? I mean, I'm talking about these the little metal.
You're talking about the change order that being issued in order to have backing for the
back
joints.
Yes, okay. So there was an element that was kind of like, what's that? And then it was like, okay, well, this is something that we learned a little bit more about, a disconnect that happened. Not to say that we need to call all those things out or anything, but it's just interesting to be able to ask those questions on site. Generally, Ellen is there, Louis is there, the PM consultant is there. We missed you last time, Ellen.
Sorry, it was my son's promotion, so we're going on to middle
Priorities.
school and you just can't miss those kind of things.
So, we have everybody
I'm sorry.
in the room that is really knowledgeable about the projects. I was speaking with Lorraine earlier, one of our other members, and she had tried to bring in someone to help us train us up on kind of how to conduct a site visit. My personal, goal was to get out there and get started on these, but also acknowledging that we can learn from best practices. And so we'll hope to bring that individual in to help us gain a little more perspective on how to engage with these site visits in a critical way. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, so I 100% resonate with our chairperson. It's totally different. Seeing it in person is totally different from listening to the update presentations. And also, I think it's a perfect training session for members who do not have construction background. So I recommend all the members to join the site visit if you can next time. I actually want to say that first, thank you for helping organize these site tours. It's very helpful. Why is it different? Because you can sometimes see problems or new discoveries that you cannot see from PowerPoint presentations. For example, Don figured out that at one site, some workers did not have enough protections when he was doing some work.
Safety.
Yeah, safety issues. Yeah, so maybe later Don can get more.
You done?
Yeah.
First, I'm a big, strong advocate of the site visits. From start to finish, see what you've got there right now, see what happens as the different phases, and then as you go along. Because right now, even these sites that we visited, so much was done that we never had a chance to see. It would have been nice to have seen the underground at Lake, for instance, before it got covered up with buildings. Okay, so again, as we do these projects, if we can get these site visits as an option for people, It's up to each and every one of us to decide whether we want to or we can participate or not, but at least we have the option to do that on there. But one of the benefits of the site visits, so the three of us visited both these sites. We all look at it through different sets of eyes. I guarantee you what you were looking for, not anything like what I was looking for. Okay, but between the group of us, now we've got a lot more information, putting our heads together and talking about the different things on there. And for those of you that are not aware, I mean, I spent well over half a century building oil refineries, heavy constructions. Most of it in very senior management positions on billion-dollar projects. So I know a little bit about construction, and in refineries in particular, safety is number one. Everything you do from the moment you walk in to the moment you leave, everything is safety, and it transfers out into your home life. I mean, one thing we always did, because refineries are kind of places that tend to catch on fire and maybe spit nasty stuff in the air. Everywhere we go, first thing you look for is what we call a natural avenue of escape. If I got to get myself out of here, how am I going to do it now? And when that problem is blocking my access, do I have a plan B? Okay, so I'm always looking at these kinds of things. Safety, again, first time you've seen somebody fall to their death, it changes you forever. You never forget it. Trust me on that one. But at this particular one, we're at Hercules. I mean, I'm seeing, for instance, that people are working up on top of a rolling scaffold. Ain't nothing wrong with that, except when they needed to move it. One of the persons got down below, the other person's still up on top and starts rolling it around. You don't do that. It's not safe to roll scaffolding around with a human being on top of it, especially when they're not tied off with personal protective equipment, a safety harness. Okay. Anytime you've got any kind of dust on cement, we're not talking concrete so much, where there's a rough texture to it, but inside those buildings, it's smooth like these tabletops. So you've got kind of dust on there, it becomes just like walking on ice. And you're carrying 150 pounds worth of stuff. And all of a sudden you're having to step over some cords that are on the ground because they're not supposed to be on the ground to begin with. But now you're doing it because in a surface that's not very stable. Next thing you know, your feet are up above your head and that stuff is landing all over the place. It's not a safe location. Every day at the minimum, these rooms should be swept up. Remove all of that. It was obvious this wasn't, we were there in the morning. This wasn't stuff that they deposited on all of these floors that day. It'd been gathering up for quite some time. And whether you have somebody sweeping it up or you get these nice little battery powered air blowers, blow it around and then sweep up a little bit of mess. You do better than what we had there. Okay. And then you had personal protective equipment, masks in particular. You had people out there working on sheetrock, I think it was, sanding it. No masks on there. Well, where do you think all that dust was going? Into their lungs. One of the projects I've been on for the past 30 plus years through the building trades, I'm the liaison between our workers and the companies that used asbestos to kill our workers and their families. I know a little bit about this. And in particular, people think, well, you got workman's compensation to cover up. No, workman's compensation is never there to protect the workers. Workman's compensation is there to protect the companies. Okay, you cannot sue the company that you work for. That's what workman's compensation is for. Okay, you die, maybe they'll pay for a $10,000 casket. That's about it. So then you get your attorney and you go off to the deep pockets, the school district. Because next all of a sudden it's no longer Kennedy High School, it's Gosney High School. Because I just owned it in the settlement. That's how these things work. The best thing to do is to make sure we don't put the workers in any kind of a situation where they can get injured or hurt themselves. You should have daily toolbox meetings before you start. But these are the potential hazards that we might have. There's forms you fill out. You fill these things out, they required to keep these for 30 years. I know because I've had to call and put back up in some of these lawsuits I've been involved with. Because I don't know if we have any kind of these daily safety meetings or not. But they need to have them on there. If nothing else, to cover ourselves in case of that lawsuit. To make sure that the employer is telling the workers, wear your personal protective equipment, wear your safety harnesses, don't roll that scaffolding around. Make sure you got guards on the grinders, make sure you got handles on the grinders. That's another thing I saw there. No, these are all violations. And so this is what concerns me. I've been bringing this up with our school boards, many of them, for a very long time, about in some of the classrooms, for instance. Emergency eye washes and safety showers, for instance, that are not accessible in our classrooms. And all the boards want to talk about is active shooter alerts. That's what they think of when they think safety. No, I said, you get far more accidents. It's not just the students, it's the employees. They can get themselves hurt. But I would like to see in our district pay more attention to safety on the job sites. Because it can bite us in the rear end big time. You know, I'd hate to have to tell a community, we can't afford that elementary school because we just had to pay off the settlement. This makes us look bad. Oh, it's the wrong thing to do. To put people in harm's way. But other than that, I enjoyed the site visits. I learned a lot. They're doing things in these schools I've never heard of before. What were these doors with little go down and keep the noise and the dust out or something like that? What's that all about? I never saw that at Home Depot. That's cool stuff.
Thank you, Don. That reminds me of the, a question. I guess we can submit questions to you guys after these site visits, but one question, and I don't expect an answer now, but is, if there were a lawsuit, would that be an eligible expense from the bond program? Maybe that's a legal question.
I would just say our contractors are insured, and so we would.
At very high limits.
Yes. And so there's
primary
very
insured.
little liability to
I'm
this.
sorry, I need to bring this back up. That insurance they've got workman's compensation for that. You can't sue the contractor that you work for.
So maybe this is a topic that we need to dig into a little bit more. Not in this site visit item, but in a specific item, because it would be good to understand, like,
I guarantee you, when I testify in court, the other attorneys, they settle as quickly as possible, because I can make them look very, very bad about how unsafe things were. Because I know a little bit more about safety than the attorneys do.
I think it concerns this committee in the context of, is the bond program facing any liability, I feel like. So that is something I think we just can get some greater clarity on another item at a later date, but I appreciate that. And let's see, there was one other thing. So I have solicited dates and availability information from everybody. Please share more as it updates, or any if you haven't already. And the goal is really to get everybody out to at least one. Even there's strength in numbers, but even if it's a one person, and appreciate the staff's time, it is valuable.
Do we have next site visit date?
I don't know, we don't have anything booked yet, but we'll work on that.
Okay.
Don?
One of the great benefits, in my opinion, for the site visits, it gives me an opportunity to actually talk to the people there in a casual conversation, where we are not allowed to talk here. We can't, unless it's on the agenda, we can't talk about it. We don't have that kind of thing at the site visits, where we can get to know each other a little bit more and start asking questions of each other. That's extremely valuable in my opinion.
So, and I would like to work towards creating that opportunity within our meetings more and more. So if there is ever an item that you want to see on the agenda, please send it to me and I'll put it on the docket. Okay, any last comments on site visits?
Also, just the comment for Don, last point, maybe we can have an official meetup sometimes.
An unofficial,
Yeah,
below quorum?
just
Yeah,
to know each other more.
sounds good. We could do that as a majority.
You could do that as a group if you wanted to get together. We just post the agenda,
Oh, yeah.
for it, and that you would be meeting at a certain location. It's not a meeting. It's a social event. Those are allowable under Brown Act.
I learned a lot about Ariel in the Juneteenth parade. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, moving on to item L, website committee report out. So Lorraine Humes, our vice chair, is our committee chair. And obviously she's not present. But we'll just open it up for any discussion or comments on the website. If there's anything anybody wants to mention. Andrea, maybe you've checked out the website
I have,
as a
yeah.
new pair of fresh eyes. You want to share any kind of reflections?
There's a lot there. Yeah, I don't know, I would have to kind of go through more, there's a lot there. Some of it is a little bit tricky to navigate, just, but I don't have specific suggestions yet, but, it's a lot of information that leads to other, I'm just going down that road.
Yeah, there's, certainly a lot. Don?
It's been a day or two since I've looked at our website, I'll admit that. But I know that one of the bigger problems that we had for a long time are things like minutes. We would post draft minutes, not the final minutes. Theoretically, they should be the same thing, but are times when we make amendments to minutes. And you need to have final minutes on the website. And we're not talking about just this year or this month, or we're talking about going back a very long ways. So we should need, the website committee needs to go through these things and take a look. Which minutes are final, which minutes are, or draft on there. Also take a look at through the different things, say, what's missing? What do we need on there? As I guarantee you, there's a lot of things that we used to have on there. It just disappeared. And unless you're paying attention all the time, and unless you've been around for a while, you wouldn't know these things. This is a historical part of the CBOC, and too many times people go back and say, well, I can't find any record of this. So it must not have happened. As we're going through our bylaws, for instance, right now, you and I are meeting in a couple of weeks. It was just purely coincidental that I love this. I'm cleaning up some papers. That's how clean my house is, because it was a ready site. Missing bylaws from 2011. That they were only about 2 feet underneath the stack of paper on my kitchen table. But why, how did they disappear off the website? And I'm lucky that they're still there, because they will be helpful for us.
Okay, the last time, in the past, we've talked about website updates, and I think you had mentioned, Melissa, that there was somebody coming on board, a consultant, or is there a refresh?
So there's a district-wide website refresh that's happening, and so the CBOC has its own dedicated webpage, but it's part of the district's kind of overall provider that we've created that page. I do want to just share and say, so for the CBOC website, staff is a resource, so we will help maintain it. But the current form and kind of function was from the last kind of website design team that picked the channels and the topics and what was going to be included. And so we definitely have a responsibility to make sure like the agenda is posted and things like that. But we're not going to go and delete or change or modify the website without the direction from the CBOC. But kind of to the broader question about the redesign, so the backbone to the existing website is not going to be the future platform that we're on. And so that's a good thing in a lot of ways. It's an older kind of web design. So to make any change to the CBOC website, you have to like upload it into their system, and then you get a link, and then you can post that link. And there's a lot of faster, easier ways that you can update websites now, which we expect to be available on the new platform. And so there's some great opportunities to improve the website. and definitely update the information and, we'd be really excited to partner and, make those changes happen.
Yeah, so hopefully, Rain has the bandwidth to take this on. My perspective is, it's really about the public and how efficiently can we get the information out, and what information is it, and how effectively can we drive traffic to the website? Because otherwise, it's just kind of serving us as a reference point for minutes and maybe trainings. So that's my perspective.
In defense of the district, our original website was, I helped create it. Okay, but it was owned by SGI. Okay, they had the contract for overseeing all of our projects, okay? But for some reason, when members of the school board and even the CBOC want to put the heads of the SGI in prison and charge them with criminal activities and want to sue them personally, they were less than receptive about helping us as we transition from their website to the district-owned website. And so some of the things, I can't say how they disappeared or why they disappeared, but it happened during that transition. It's funny how when you threaten people, they're no longer friends.
How much capacity does staff have to help with website? I mean, so are we waiting for the website redesign? Is there a date at which, we can,
I
work
think what we
with?
could do is actually invite communications that we've had in here before. Attend a meeting, give us an update. The project was moving forward and we've had some turnover and, and I know they struggle in some areas as well, so I don't know where it fits on their priority. I do know they are moving forward with what speed and where do we fit in that priority list. So it would be nice to have them come and they can speak to that.
Okay, so they're driving the bus on that whole thing.
But
And
one
so
of the
when-
things that they're going to do with they're gonna be able to transition components of the existing platform into the new one. So it's not a complete new build.
Sure.
And so one of the things that we could do to help support that transition, right? That switch, whenever that switch is gonna happen, is maybe take a look at the existing one, and some of the organization, because I hear like when you say like rabbit hole, one of the challenges that we have with the website is there's multiple ways to get to something, but then that means you have to update it in multiple places too. And so if you update it in 2 out of 3, you now have inaccurate, right? Not timely data. And so I think staff has some recommendations, and there's a format that the previous web designer shared with the previous committee group when this one was designed, about like how to use an Excel to say, like, if this is your channel, what do you want to be in that bucket? You could say, right? So when you click on meetings, what are all the subheadings that you want under meetings? Like if you're a member of the public and you think of meetings, like what would belong to meetings, right? What maybe belongs to different sections? Because if we did some streamlining in terms of the structural organization of the website that maybe would make it more accessible to the broader community, then when they take the existing platform, right, and transition it to the new platform, that structural framework would transfer, is our understanding of how the website process is happening. Because what we've been asked to do as departments with the existing website, right, like clean it up, update it, make sure everything's accurate and together, so that when it transitions to the new platform, that structure flows. So I do think that there is some opportunity to do some of the things that are probably pretty apparent when you go on the website, that we could do now that would assist with that
Yeah.
transition.
Okay, to be clear, like when you're saying staff can support, is it communication staff or is it bond program staff?
So we update the website now
Okay,
on behalf of the CBOC. So we post the meeting agendas for the meetings. We do that work. here. The work directly with the web designer and the management of that contract would be communications.
Okay,
I'm sorry, but your support right now, because you're just updating with more agenda packets and minutes, so again, it's relatively minimal, isn't it?
Currently.
More work than you want, but.
Yeah, but if we can activate, we can create a new app, we can
Okay.
deactivate a page, like we have those capabilities within the system to do it. Yes.
okay, with, just because of time, I want to move on, but, we'll look to Lorraine for some leadership on that committee, and then anybody that wants to join in on the committee can do so. Item M, new and old business. So this is a call for any agenda items or requests for information. Open call.
I have a question,
Yes,
and I got this is from City of San Pablo, and they have a San Pablo Beacon Community School Initiative. Is there something related to the school district, West Central Constitution? Oh,
can you read that out, Donna?
oh, so this one.
San Pablo Beacon Community School Initiative.
Beacons is actually, I don't have all the information, but the Beacon is a function that happens at Helms Middle School, and it's supported by the city of San Pablo. It's a program.
Isn't it linked to?
Yeah,
they
so
talked
at
about
Lake,
the
there's
beacon.
a beacon director, and
Yeah.
so that's one of the rooms that we've created in the flex office, is for the beacon office, but it's not something that's directly, our schools benefit from it. They provide various, community resources at our school sites and coordinate with other third-party, programs that support our schools and families, which is awesome, and it's part of our full service community school initiative that's supported by San Pablo. But as far as facilities go, we're just responsible for making sure that people have a place to be. And so it was taken into consideration when we did the design for Lake.
So it's a public school, charter school?
It's only for the public.
It's a program that operates within our school, our after school.
Oh, it's a program.
Helms Middle School, within Helms Middle School.
Well, it
So the-
actually is
the-
all the San Pablo
This,
schools.
the schools in our district that are in the city of San Pablo have a beacon program at our school.
Oh,
Like additional capacity, but a separate organization, and that we learned that there's a whole room dedicated to that program at the Lake School, which I would have not known about the program had we not taken that site visit, so that was.
oh, we are focusing on the facilities. Oh, thank you so much. I think it's another campus or something.
If anybody does anybody care about the website? So I can read it off real quick and you can write it down.
Can I just have? Thank you.
Good.
Oh.
Any other calls, or agenda items? Future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, you can always send them to me. Item N, authoring the 2023 annual report. I just want to open up, invitation to join me to help write that report, if anybody's interested. I'm gonna color outside the lines and try to create a 1 to 2 page report. And see how that goes over with the committee. With the goal, I mean, there's certainly a lot of information that needs to be, that has been published, in the past. How many members of the public have read that entire report? I would say probably you count on 2 hands. I'm thinking of something that is, easily accessible to a larger number of people.
It's a great resource, but it takes a tremendous amount of effort by a larger group than we have sitting right here right now.
Yeah. Okay. Item O. So notice to schedule bylaws training in July. As Don mentioned, we're gonna meet, him and I. If anybody else wants to, July 19th. Reach out. We're gonna sit down and review, old versions of the bylaws and come up with a pathway to bring those back to our committee. So bring everybody up to speed. To say it in the least amount of words, it's unclear what our current bylaws, the state of our current approved bylaws are. So we wanna get clarity on that, at least in the eyes of the committee. As we are in control of our own bylaws. Item P, is there an update on the parliamentarian contract renewal?
Yes, we've extended the contract for the current fiscal year in 24-25.
Fantastic,
Thank you.
okay. All right, item Q, next scheduled meeting is August 12th, 6:15 PM. Adjourning this meeting at 8:03 PM. If there are no objections, we will adjourn. Okay, adjourned at 8:03. Thank you. Okay.